Imagine waking up tomorrow and something feels strangely wrong. You go to work, you talk to your friends, someone tells a joke, everyone smiles, but nobody laughs. Not a single person, no awkward giggle, no uncontrollable laughter, no laughing until your stomach hurts. And here's the strange part. You probably wouldn't even notice that anything was missing. Because humans would still talk, we'd still fall in love, we'd still make friends, we'd still tell jokes, but one of the oldest social behaviors in the human species would simply be gone. So what would actually happen? Would our relationships become colder? Would comedy disappear? Would stress become harder to handle? And why did humans evolve the ability to laugh in the first place? Before we find out, subscribe to Shak Studios, because today we're imagining a world without one of the most ordinary and possibly most important things humans do. What if humans never laughed? Here's something most of us never think about. We usually associate laughter with jokes, but laughter actually happens in far more situations than comedy. You laugh when you're nervous. You laugh when you're embarrassed. You laugh when your friend says something completely ridiculous. And sometimes you even laugh because somebody else is laughing. Seriously, laughter is overwhelmingly social. Researchers have found that people are far more likely to laugh when they're with someone else than when they're alone. And that's our first clue. Maybe laughter isn't primarily about finding something funny. Maybe it's about other people. Think about two friends laughing together. Nothing important has been said, nobody has learned anything, yet somehow they feel closer. That's not an accident. Research suggests laughter can contribute to social bonding, and studies have linked shared laughter with mechanisms involving the brain's endorphin system. So if laughter disappeared, the first thing we lose might not be comedy. It might be something much more subtle, a simple way of connecting with each other. Now imagine this world. You're sitting at dinner with your closest friends. Someone tells a ridiculous story. Everyone understands that it's funny. People smile, they make eye contact, they shake their heads in disbelief, but nobody laughs. There's just silence. At first, it wouldn't seem catastrophic. Humans have plenty of other ways to communicate. We have smiles, facial expressions, touch, tone of voice, words. So no, society wouldn't suddenly collapse, but conversations might feel different. Laughter often works like a social signal. It can tell someone, I'm comfortable with you. I understand the moment. We're sharing this experience. And because laughter is contagious, one person's laugh can trigger laughter in another person. So without it, we might have to rely much more heavily on words and conscious signals to communicate those same feelings. Imagine having to actually say, I know this is awkward, but I'm comfortable with you, instead of simply laughing. Now things get more interesting. Laughter doesn't just affect the people around you. It affects your body too. When you laugh, your breathing changes, your facial muscles move, your body goes through a brief burst of physical activity, and researchers have been investigating what happens to stress during and after laughter. A systematic review and meta-analysis found that laughter-based interventions were associated with reductions in stress, although the studies varied substantially and the evidence still needs to be interpreted carefully. Another meta-analysis found an association between laughter interventions and lower cortisol, one of the hormones involved in the body's stress response. So imagine a world where laughter never existed. That doesn't mean everyone would automatically become stressed or depressed, not at all. But one small, natural way of releasing tension would be missing. Think about those moments when a room is painfully tense. Someone makes a ridiculous comment. Everyone laughs, and suddenly the tension breaks. Without laughter, that pressure might stay in the room, and we'd need other ways to release it. Now let's take this even further. If humans couldn't laugh, would comedy even survive? Maybe, because humor isn't the same thing as laughter. You could still understand a joke. You could still recognize something as absurd. You could still enjoy a funny movie. But the physical response would be gone. Imagine watching your favorite comedy and sitting completely still. No laugh track, no audience bursting out laughing, no contagious reaction spreading through the theater. Weird, right? And that could change comedy itself. Comedians might stop asking, how do I make people laugh, and start asking, how do I make people smile, or gasp, or feel surprised, or think? comedy might become less about a shared physical reaction and more about an intellectual one. And that could completely change movies, television, stand-up comedy, even the way we tell stories. Here's where the mystery gets deeper. Laughter isn't uniquely human. Researchers have identified laughter-like vocalizations and play-related behaviors in other mammals, including primates and rodents. That suggests laughter-like behavior has much deeper evolutionary roots than modern comedy. And honestly, that makes sense. Our ancestors didn't have Netflix. They didn't have stand-up comedians. They didn't have memes. But they did have something much more important: each other. They played, they interacted, they formed groups, they depended on cooperation. And laughter may have become part of the machinery that helped those social relationships work. So, what if humans never laughed? We would probably still survive. We'd still communicate. We'd still love. We'd still build cities, tell stories, and create civilizations. But something subtle would be missing. That tiny sound that says, "We're okay. We're together. I understand you." And maybe that's the most fascinating thing about laughter. We think we laugh because something is funny, but perhaps, sometimes, we laugh because we're human together. So the next time you laugh with someone, don't think of it as just a reaction to a joke. It might be one of the oldest ways your brain has of saying, "We're connected." If you enjoyed this journey into the strange science behind everyday human behavior, subscribe to Shak Studios, because every week we ask another question that makes you look at ordinary life a little differently. Stay curious.